My extremities were starting to turn blue. The day before I was supposed to go to the doctor, my skin was starting to mold. I couldn't walk at all. I couldn't even talk. I was slurring my words. And yeah, it was really scary. And they tried to get me to eat like soup or something, and I couldn't even eat it. I just threw it back up. It was scary, and I was so out of it at the time, but looking back now, you don't realize that you're staring death in the face until you're right there with it. And looking back on it now, I can definitely see.
Type 1 diabetes gets lumped in with type 2 diabetes. And I think that maybe causes some frustration for a lot of people with type 1, sometimes myself included, just because it is a separate disease compared to type 2. And with type 1 diabetes, like I kind of mentioned, it's autoimmune, so there's nothing anyone who gets type 1 diabetes could do to prevent getting diabetes.
Your body's blood is supposed to be like water, but when my blood sugar is high, or when type 1's blood sugar is high, their body's like syrup, and that is not good. That is not healthy, and that helps people understand how bad I'm feeling.
So whenever it starts to drop, I don't realize it until it's already too late, and so it kind of hits me all at once, and I get really dizzy. Sometimes my vision doesn't follow where my eyes go, and I started to realize that's when I'm about to have a seizure.
The hardest part about diabetes for me is whenever I wake up low. If I wake up and my blood sugars are low, I am very, very prone to having a seizure. Basically, it feels like, how to put it into words, waking up and feeling low, you feel disoriented, you feel weak, and I have to put myself into like a weird mindset to be able to get myself to get something without having a seizure. In fact, I have a scar on my chin from having a seizure one morning trying to get me something.
Like growing up, I was still scared to tell everyone about it. Like it's something that set me apart. With one of like my first like serious relationships, I remember not even telling her until it was like I got critically low and had to tell someone because like I was about to pass out, and like it was just very it was a very secretive thing.
I think the hardest part about having type 1 diabetes is that it's invisible. Walking down the street, you cannot see that I have type 1 diabetes unless you see my CGM in my arm or my insulin pump on my hip. I look like just a normal girl, and while most of the time that's completely fine, I think people discount my feelings and emotions towards type 1 because I do look normal, and they don't realize that internally my body is really struggling when I'm high or I'm low, or just even having a bad day. I think type 1 diabetes takes a big toll on me mentally and physically.
And I personally have dealt with in the past a lot of rather depressing times and stages where diabetes was a big factor in that I just felt lonely.
And living with type 1, I've noticed that like it makes it feel where it's out of your power, to where you don't feel that you can control this and that you just kind of have to write it out. I was really low, and one thing led to another. I felt just depressed out of the blue. I've never like felt that feeling. It was out of my control. That night, I wanted to take my life, and people, luckily it didn't happen, but thank God I had people like Kelly and Kim by my side to help me while I was there. They sat down and explained me like how emotions can really, and diabetes do not really mix well, especially when you get older and your body's changing.
It's one of those things, it's like you never know what's gonna happen. Like diabetes is something that's like 1 minute you're fine and the next minute something happens. So, you just have to be always alert on it. And your friends, people who, for y'all that are just normal, y'all like pay attention. look at the warning signs. If someone that you know who happens to be type 1, or even if you don't know if they have type 1 diabetes, if you see that something might be a little bit off, just be alert.
Like there's a bunch of other people in this with you, and there's a community that we all can come to and discuss our problems with and get them figured out with each other.
I have been raised in a very great group of people that helps a lot with anytime you're dealing with struggles and stuff like that. You just rely on the people who understand and who are going through and who have been through the same thing as you. And finding that group is what is most important for somebody who has type 1 diabetes. And will always be.
I'm so grateful to have an amazing community with Diabetes Solutions of Oklahoma. And I mean, I love all these people with my whole heart, and I wouldn't trade them for anyone in the world. There is not a better team of individuals out there who are advocating and fighting for people with diabetes to feel accepted and loved and heard.
I want to take this time to educate people about type 1 and type 2 diabetes and why it is such a huge part of Diabetes Solutions and Camp Indris, and why we're here, because we want to educate, encourage, and empower people every single day with or without diabetes to learn about this disease and how we can make a difference. So
today is World Diabetes Day. I challenge each and every one of you to learn something about diabetes. Learn something that might save your life one day. Learn something new.